I'm Andrew St Pierre White. Join me as I share my passion for building four-wheel drive trucks and travelling to the remotest parts of the world. These videos are made possible by contributions from Patreons. Join the Patreon family now. The purpose of this trip is to help those of you who follow my work and have, like me, been inspired by the African bush and the fact that travelling it, driving it, is such a wonderful, life-changing experience. My plan is to take a rental 4x4 pickup out for an extended and ambitious wilderness adventure. How easy is it? What kind of vehicle and equipment can I expect to get? What are my options? And what's it like roughing it with what a 4x4 rental company typically equips with its vehicles? Anyway, that's the plan. And that I'm hoping by the series of videos that I'm going to create now, I can share with you different ways of doing it, so that you, like me, can enjoy this wonderful privilege. Every trip I take, I learn something new, and I've learned something new. Boom, day one, I arrive in South Africa, Cape Town International Airport, and they seize my cameras. I now need to pay a whole lot of money to them because you're not allowed to take, if your equipment is worth over 5,000 Rand, which is half the price, half the value of a mobile phone, you have to pay duty on it. So I've had to pay duty on it. But the trouble is with the South African system is, because I'm coming in from Cape Town and I'm leaving via Johannesburg, I won't get my money back. Or they said to me, and both of the policemen actually said to me, the system doesn't work very well, you might not get your money back. And it's 18,000 Rand, it's over $1,000 US dollars. I'm now going to go through that door and I'm going to find out if the paperwork has been completed. I'm going to get a few telephone numbers to get the process, but I'll see you in a minute, and if I'm lucky, well, if we're successful, I'll be coming out with some large bags. Nothing at the airport. It's actually a joke. Agent went to the airport, spent the entire afternoon yesterday, and they just mucked them around the whole day, and this morning they're going back to try again. The trip is on hold until we get the camera equipment. Well, I'm not going to sit here, so I'm going to go and see if the vehicle that will be travelling up to Botswana and Namibia has arrived. Well, this is a place very familiar to me. Not only is it familiar to me, I've spent a lot of good hours here. When I was building my Land Cruiser 78, I brought it to this place, R&D, off-road, Gobi Manufacturing, and they did quite a bit of work for me. And they are working on and completing the vehicle that we are going to be taking through Botswana and Namibia. Well, it's brand spanking new. Look at this Land Cruiser double cab 79 series pickup, 4.2 diesel engine. This is going to be my home for the next 2.5 weeks. That is, of course, if R&D can finish the equipping of the vehicle in time. And what is more of a problem is that the airport will release my cameras. Okay, 2 days later, back at the airport to see if I can collect. I think all the paperwork's together. I'm using my iPhone to film this because I don't want to be obvious about my carrying a camera. Africa. Yeah, I've lived here for 38 years and I know it can get bad. Today, it's bad. Further complication, I now have to leave the airport building because the goods are actually in the country now. The agents have really pulled out the stops and do the paperwork tonight. Well, there it is. That's the thing that caused all the trouble. The big black box, which was spotted by the border control at Cape Town International Airport, big camera box, and of course inside it is the drone. A Typhoon H drone. I've never shot with a drone before, it's all new to me, so I guess it's all part of the learning curve. It wasn't expected to be this way, but we will be taking the drone into Botswana and Namibia and hopefully getting some amazing shots with it. So this is what we've learned. When bringing expensive cameras into South Africa, carry a carnet. Secondly, don't bring in fancy looking camera boxes. 4xOverland's new toy, the Typhoon H drone. Very, very excited, but for the fact that the little instruction book is really, it's almost non-existent. I had never flown a drone before, so this was my very first test flight. Nice flat area that's easily seen. Bella, you're going to get a fright. Okay, so what you do is you turn on this guy first. Then the Typhoon H itself. I'm waiting for the drone and the control unit to link up. It's taking far longer than I expected. There's so much glare on the screen. Finally, we're ready to fly. I'm going to lift up now. I can see absolutely nothing.
I can see it.
I can see more like this. Before I left for Africa, I did 10 more successful flights.
Can you see what it's filming?
No, I'm going to move because I'm staring into the brightest part of the sky and it's too bright. I can't see what I'm doing. I love the idea of filming wide open spaces of the African savannah from the air, and this is my chance to do it. I do think now that I am a good enough pilot to take this on my expedition. I look forward to some fantastic footage. The following day, everything's in order. They're doing finishing touches to the vehicle, busy packing up now. But to be honest with you, I'm finding it very difficult to focus on the task ahead because, well, look what I find. Isn't it beautiful? Now, this vehicle is obviously inspired by my design, but they've actually improved it. They've improved it in a lot of ways, and I just see so many fantastic additions to what. I mean, I like to think that it was inspired by my vehicle. Maybe it wasn't. Whatever, isn't it fantastic? This vehicle was actually developed by Paul Marsh for an American client. This is one of the two last Land Cruiser 78 Troopers sold in South Africa. Toyota South Africa are no longer importing the 78 Trooper into the country. He bought the last two, and this one building for a very, very lucky client. Beautiful work. Better than mine, much better than mine. If I look at the way it's done, I'm green with envy. Nice, eh? My travelling companion, Paul Marsh, has been commissioned by a UK-based safari company to upgrade their ageing Land Rover fleet to Toyota Land Cruiser. This is the first of a new fleet, and we are the lucky ones to be taking it out on its first trial run, testing the vehicle and its equipment. This does please me. BF Goodrich all-terrain KO2 tyres. At last, the vehicle is ready. It's supplied by Safari Drive, a company specialising in self-drive adventures into Africa. All right, well, we're finally ready to go. Gonna pack the vehicle now. Almost everything you see here is supplied with the vehicle by Safari Drive. See, my idea is that I don't want to add to the experience by bringing a lot of my own stuff, and nor do I want to leave any of their stuff out. So everything, well, just about everything that we're going to use on our adventure is supplied as part of the package with Safari Drive. Now, different hire companies, they'll all be different. And you will have to decide, well, what do you want in terms of the size of the package? The Safari Drive package is pretty comprehensive, as you can see by the amount of kit we've got to fit in the car. And I have a question, is it all going to fit? can't remember a time that the stress of getting out of Cape Town, because everything, it was as if the world was conspiring against me to get on the road. Early morning, we're on our way. Yeah, we've lost a full day. Such is life, but we're on the road and we're heading north towards Uppington and the Botswana border. Yeah, the change in my mood over the last half hour has changed fundamentally. Half an hour ago I was in South Africa, and the final part of getting the trip started. It started in the UK, flying to Cape Town, having problems with the cameras and customs, getting through that, buying stuff, preparing the vehicle, and I've just crossed the Botswana border. Of all the countries I've ever visited in my life, none compares to Botswana. And it's not the animals, and it's not the landscapes necessarily, and the fact is I don't know what it is. I actually don't know what it is that makes Botswana so special for me personally. The moment I touch its soil, my entire mood changes. Half an hour ago I wasn't really enjoying. Well, I wasn't enjoying the trip, but the trip hadn't started. It was still kind of in the prep stage and the stress stage, and that. I'm in Botswana. And everything about it is absolutely fantastic. Time for Coke and Drovos.
Look, no dust.
A typical small town in an undeveloped or less developed African country. This is Gansi in Botswana. It's a farming town. Typical. There are banks. There's a supermarket, small though it may be. We'll have everything we need. A lot of people from overseas that come to Africa have this belief that, Africa is really, undeveloped, and you'll battle to get stuff, and you'll battle to get, struggle to get what you need for your trip. That is just plain not the case, as you will see now. It is true that you're going to need to find medium-sized towns to find places like this, well-stocked supermarkets, but fresh food is often found in the very small towns, in small stalls that line the roads leading in and out of the town. So fresh fruit and vegetables, mostly easy to come by. Right, where would you find water to fill up your tanks? Perfect place is a hotel. So en route, when you stop off at a hotel, find water. However, now this is a big but, really good idea to test the water, because I've been in a situation where I've actually picked up a really bad water in a hotel. So particularly if it's on a hose pipe on the ground, you let it run for a good 10 minutes, make sure all the water in the hose pipe is out. That's really, really important. And then give it a little bit of a taste. If it tastes fine, if it tastes okay, you're probably all right. But of course, ask the locals as well. That's very important. The other place to get water for your vehicle is obviously a service station. Same thing applies. Run the tap for a period of time. You will never know for sure if the water you're putting in the vehicle is absolutely safe. Most of the times it will be, but occasionally you might get unlucky. So water filtration and bottled water is probably preferred for drinking water. But this water here, even if it's not perfect, will be perfectly good for tea, coffee, cooking, no problem at all. Distances between fuel stops are often very long and can be erratic, so good route planning is advised. The quality of fuel in southern Africa is mostly quite good. So, I like nothing more than this. There's nothing that I've ever done that I like more than this. In Botswana, you're leaving the tar road. This is the Mount Shikawi Road, and we're off to Drotsky's Caves. I've never been to this part of Botswana before. It's very, very remote, about 130 kilometers of probably rough, quite rough sand track, and to a place I've never been to before. I welcome you on our ride. Very, very exciting. cliffs, so uncharacteristic of the Kalahari. You know, the Kalahari, generally speaking, doesn't have any rocks, very few. There are isolated places where you can find rocks. Where I lived in the Kalahari in the middle of the Okavango, there are no rocks at all. So when the monkeys gave us a hard time, and well, there was nothing to throw at them. Well, we could throw a stick, but they just throw that back. But anyway, rocks, and of course the caves are ahead of us now. Well, this is it. Trying to get the click right. The spelling's interesting. Harbour. Imagine the first explorer, Martinus Drotsky, came across these caves. What was he doing, and why did he find them? What was he? You understand what I'm trying to say here? Is that he was it's in the middle of nowhere, truly the middle of nowhere, and yet he found this place. That's amazing. What a life he must have led. And we will be coming tomorrow morning early. It is a guided tour, which is really great because then we can learn. And he was telling me that they have a project now where they're actually exploring the entire area looking for new caves. It's actually a government project. Tomorrow we shall enter the caves. But now we need to find a campsite. Well, here we are next to this beautiful tree and a stunning campsite. This is actually not designated as a campsite. We met the guide at near the entrance to the cave, and he said, please feel free. There's an amazing tree just up the road, up the track. Camp there, be happy. That's where we'll be spending the night. So our first campsite for our trip through Botswana and Namibia. I had an idea on the way here. Tell me if you think it's a good one. Almost every time I've ever had a campsite, certainly the ones worth remembering, I've taken a photograph of them. I have hundreds of them. I'm thinking about doing a book that you can download on Amazon, and each campsite, show you the campsite, a couple of other details of it if I have them, and a little story, an anecdote about why I was there, what is magic about that particular campsite, and of course feature some of the amazing campsites that I've been lucky enough to spend the night in. This is one of them. Isn't it fantastic? Africa bush travel. It's like a drug, a legal high. Should be illegal. Have another number of choices if you want to come to Southern Africa and do a driving holiday. You need a vehicle. You need to rent a vehicle. If you don't own one, you need to rent one. There are a number of options. You can phone up a company, rent a vehicle, arrive at the airport, and go on your trip. That you have planned, that you have made all the bookings, done all the research. Is this place open? What time of year is best? What's the best campsite in that area? Etc., etc. That's the one way of doing it. The next way is to rent a vehicle that is fully equipped. So it has its own tents and cooking grids, and knives, forks, spoons, sleeping bags, the works, and kind of do the same thing. Get on the road and have this incredible experience. There's a third option that not that many people know about, and that is the option that I've chosen to share with you, because in many ways this particular option removes almost all the risks. The risks of, for example, arriving at the wrong time of year. Getting your bookings wrong and you arrive, and it happens, not that often, but it does happen, arrive at a national park and it's fully booked and they've lost your booking. It happens. Taking a road that is just not the right road, the wrong track, getting lost. Planning badly. you don't have local knowledge. If you've got local knowledge, then why would you want to buy local knowledge? You've got your own local, but most people renting a vehicle, coming from out of Africa, renting a vehicle, do not have local knowledge. They have no access to local knowledge, and they'll do a bit of Googling, but that's not local up-to-the-minute knowledge. That knowledge is available in a package which comes with tents and sleeping bags and blankets and all the travel stuff, and everything is delivered, including, of course, the vehicle and all of the bits attached to it. Not only that, with this package you get a bit of training too. How to avoid stuff that is probably not obvious to many of you. The pitfalls of Africa bush travel. Dangers from animals. Are they real or just imaginary? Or do you watch a lot of Discovery Channel and have this idea that every insect in Africa is out to bite you? Which is of course not the case.
For example.
Listen very carefully. Can you hear that? Nor can I. That isn't the sound of the barking gecko. Beautiful little creature, burrows into the ground, and there are hundreds of thousands of interlinking holes in the ground where these little creatures spend their lives seeking out insects and charming visitors. The Aha Hills that we will visit tomorrow. Aha is a Khoisan name reflecting the noise that you cannot hear right now of the barking gecko. I think this is the very first evening I've ever spent in the Kalahari and I haven't heard a barking gecko. And there are the hills named after them. And I'm sometimes asked, why don't you do wildlife films? Now you know why. Ah, beautiful. Sun coming up, just made it before sunrise. So day 2 of our expedition through the loneliest parts of Namibia and Botswana. We're located on the far western side of Botswana. And in terms of Botswana's lonely places, this would be considered one of its most remote spots, near Drotsky's Caves. We're going to explore there this morning. And also, what it's like to come from another country and then make use of the services of a company that, as part of their deal, they rent us a vehicle. And we're using all of the other services that they offer with that vehicle. My accommodation is the 2-person tent supplied with the package, and Paul is sleeping in the rooftop tent on top of the Land Cruiser. How do I look? Village people.
Well, yeah, definitely. We are armed with a torch.
I can see that's a big torch. So I don't know if you want me to just...
I read it last night.
Oh, you read it last night?
I read it last night.
Oh, okay.
To find out more about it.
Welcome to Quehaba.
And I got the pronunciation right. Kwe.
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 I got it right.
Quehaba.
I wasn't sure, but I guessed it was
Yeah,
Quehaba.
Kwe.
These caverns were first known to the Khoisan and were shown to Martinus Drotsky, a Gansi farmer, in 1934.
Yeah.
I'm in the far western Kalahari in Botswana at a place called Drotsky's Caves. My travelling companion, Paul Marsh, and I are being taken deep underground by a local geologist working in the area.
Very exciting. I do suffer from claustrophobia to a degree, and while climbing down here, my struggle is actually holding the camera with the one hand and in my head trying to keep this yellow hat on, because if I tilt my head it will go flying.
So the different shapes of stalagmites, flowstones, actually they're different stalagmites.
Now these caves where we are now are quite close to the entrance, which means that there are outside influences on the colours and the shapes and the ground. It could be dust, it could be birds, bats. There are places deep, deep into the caves, where all of the calcium carbonate is snow white. It's not been affected by any outside influence at all. And it's the virgin white. And entire caves like this can be white. We won't be going that far because that is a several-hour trek into the depths of the earth. But underneath my feet now, the ground is soft, bat droppings, on it insects that feed on the bat droppings, and the bats feed on the insects that feed on their droppings. How about that for a closed ecosystem?
One from the bottom is stalactite, the one from the top. Yeah. That's where actually they've grown up to this.
Ledimo, our guide, explains how the stalagmites grow upwards and stalactites form downwards, eventually meeting in the middle.
And then you see it as a whole thing now. Wow. Yeah. Because there is a lot of carbon dioxide during this reaction of producing this white stuff. So the carbon dioxide, as you go deeper and deeper, it becomes more and more. As you go out, the oxygen becomes more and more. The carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen, as you know. So actually the oxygen can push in all the way. So there is those areas whereby the carbon dioxide is kind of dominated. Right. Yeah. So depending on that, the birds, also their lungs, depending on their age, so they have different sections where they live. So as we go, we find them increasing in size.
The caves are managed by the Kaikai Trust community project. But of course, in all the maps, it's called Drotsky's Caves, named after Martinus Drotsky, a farmer in the 1930s, that first discovered the caves. And of course, he wasn't the first people to discover the caves. He was the first people to tell everybody about the caves. And of course, when people got to know it, they gave the caves their proper name, which is Quihaba. And this particular chamber is named after Martinus Drotsky, and it's called the Drotsky Chamber. I'd like to thank Ledimo, who took us. Fantastic. We would never have learnt what we learned today had we just come as visitors and looked around. In fact, you made the experience for me.
You're welcome, sir.
I'm so grateful to you.
You're welcome, sir.
Come to this part of Botswana. It's fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. This is the village of Kaikai. Believe me, my click is wrong. I'm just trying. It's a Khoisan village. And this part of western Botswana is the home to a lot of genuine Khoisan people. You know, they haven't interbred with other people. They're Bushmen. They're the real Bushmen. But every year the numbers are decreasing, and it's actually quite sad, and it's quite a concern. I think that this nation is vanishing. It's slowly vanishing. We're heading now to the Aha Hills and crossing into Namibia, into Bushmanland. Again, a place I've never been to before, and but just so wonderful to be in such a remote part of the world. Fantastic. So, the Aha Hills. Aha is the Khoisan onomatopoeic name for the hills, named after the little geckos that we heard last night. Well, we didn't hear them last night. We might hear them tonight.
We're in Bushmanland, far eastern Namibia. We're heading south to a place called, never mind, I won't be able to pronounce it properly, This area is very remote and visited by very few tourists. We've been on the road all day and covered about 300 kilometers. We've pulled over in a small clearing and we'll set up camp here for the night. Long day's drive. Boy, was it worth it. You were thinking?
I'm thinking we'd have a lovely view tomorrow morning. I'm going to put your tent over there, so when you wake up, you just got this stunning view looking out there.
The Nyanyai Pans in far eastern Namibia. Getting to places like this where it is almost guaranteed that one will be on one's own. And when I say that, I'm not talking about a few people, I'm talking about nobody. Utterly alone, which means utter silence, total tranquility, and not a lot of places left. Even in southern Africa, and not many left. This is my first visit here, and the price you pay for places like this are long days on rough roads, and for me they are worth every bit of washboard, and it's just fantastic. Anyway, here we are at Nyanyai. Okay, firewood. Got some nice steak in the fridge, so it shouldn't be, places like this where there are not a lot of people, firewood is easy to come by. Now, here's a piece here. Now here's a safety trick about collecting firewood. This is good for kindling, and that is to wear gloves. It's just a plain good idea to wear gloves. Why? Well, it's pretty obvious really if you think about it. Scorpions, snakes, insects and thorns. Well, it happens to be right in front of the vehicle, a lovely delicious piece of firewood, and it's quite a big one, so I could just pick it up, or I could do it the safe way, which is like this. First thing to do is to kick it. So if there are any nasty critters hiding underneath, you're not going to get stung or bitten when you pick it up. There are a few dangerous woods, and in other words, if you were to cook on them, it could make you very sick. Tambuti is one of them. There are not very many of them, and I have a confession to make. I wouldn't be able to identify Tambuti if I did see it. So there you go. I've never been sick ever. Best firewood in southern Africa, I think, is Mopani. Leadwood is also very nice. Very slow to burn, but leadwood will burn for days. Mopani to me is the perfect heavy cooking wood. Check it out. Now, I'm not going to take this piece of wood, although it would make lovely firewood, because, well, to be honest with you, I once saw a vehicle tie a big log, an enormous log, yes, it was dead, and drag it to their fireplace. And I just thought, is that really necessary? You take dead wood that's fallen from the tree. Don't spoil the environment by just making enormous fires. It's not necessary. I saw that and I just thought, is that really, really necessary? There are lots of other people that would love to make a fire in your space. How about leaving them some firewood? And not, if you think you're having an impact on the environment, then the chances are you probably are. So keep it light. And whatever you do, when you're building a fire, you're building it far away from grass and trees. No trees above you. No trees above you. There was a fire in the Okavango while I was living there, and it was caused by a traveller who had entered the area and burnt out an enormous tract of land, huge amount of damage, just because he was careless about his fire. So, Paul, tell me
there are a number of options. If somebody wants to come and do an amazing self-drive trip in Africa, there are a number of options. And I believe that most people start with vehicle rental. That's where they begin from.
Yeah.
But Safari Drive is not just vehicle rental.
Well, it's not vehicle rental at all.
Well,
You can't really rent a vehicle from Safari Drive. It's in the same league as rental in a sense that you get a vehicle with your trip.
Right.
But you cannot go and just ask them to give you a vehicle. We will never do that, because we look after our clients in every other aspect of the trip.
So what is the key difference between me going and just renting a vehicle and what Safari Drive offers?
Someone comes to Safari Drive, what they're asking us to do is to actually take their dream and help them build a beautiful trip around this dream in a part of the world that we know intimately. And we're going to take this dream of theirs and we're going to create an itinerary that they're going to see beautiful things. They might want to do a few more lodges, or they might want to camp. So we can cater to balance that out so that it becomes a very nice rounded experience for someone.
So it's bespoke.
Totally bespoke.
For the client.
Yeah. We will do all the bookings. We will manage all the expectations of what's needed for what you're going to receive, what you're going to get on the other side. So what type of lodgings are you having, what the camping's like. Now Safari Drive wraps the entire experience, including a vehicle, including all the amazing equipment we put in our vehicles. So we take our clients when they arrive and we spend a good half day with them, taking them through every aspect of what equipment they're going to use, how to use the satellite phone, how to put up the tents, and actually a lot of safety pointers on driving. We're there. It
sounds to me as if you've reduced the risks considerably.
Yes, yes. But I don't know many companies that will put a satellite phone in your car. So you can't knock the rental company side of what people do.
No, sure.
Because there are some really good guys who do some really great operations. But it doesn't give you all that planning, all that support, and everything else that we offer.
Right. Fantastic, eh? How's this for a place?
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Great, great.
Isn't that fantastic? Okay. Well, I have absolutely nothing to say. Just the absolute silence, the absolute tranquility, and a fire going. We have some steak in the fridge, which we're going to pop on the fire just in a while. Sun is just setting. Nobody for, I would reckon closest person is probably about an hour's drive away, maybe a little more. Now, did you know, this was told to me by Mike Main, this very well-known writer, explorer in the Kalahari, and I've done a couple of trips with him.
Amazing man. Amazing.
He pointed out to me that that black line is in fact the Earth casting its shadow on its own atmosphere.
Wow.
How about that?
That's quite a thought, you know.
It is.
Hey? Because it's such a stunning, when you look at that light, it's just surreal. I mean, it's just amazing.
And it's so clear out in the Kalahari, that difference.
Wait till the stars come up.
Stars will be good tonight. Stars will be very good tonight. No moon.
Yeah.
No moon. Are you hungry?
That steak's calling.
That steak's screaming.
Beer and steak is like about the right thing.
Okay, let's go.
Boys' meal.
We have a very serious announcement to make. We're having chicken, not steak.
What do you mean chicken? Roadkill. I scraped it off the tar.
I saw you buy it at the supermarket.
It looks like roadkill after I've cooked it.
It looks like roadkill after you've cooked it. Night has fallen. There is an orange band right across the western sky. Our lonely campsite next to the plains. And not a single barking gecko to be heard. Not one. Why? I don't know. Very comfortable night. Magic morning, waking up and seeing this Beautiful silhouette of this acacia tree in front of the tent, and the early morning horizon, the yellow streak across the sky. Beautiful still morning, absolutely still, absolutely tranquil. Woken this morning with the sound of the francolins. They're a small ground-loving bird, typical of African grasslands. No sounds then now. There's a lone springbok on the pan over there. Last evening, late in the evening, there must have been 30 or 40 of them there. They're very skittish though. When we arrived, I noticed they ran away. And that's not a good sign, because when animals run away from vehicles, it's a sign that there's been poaching and hunting. And they hear an engine and they flee. And that's what happened yesterday, and that's why they're not coming close to us. In national parks, generally speaking, both in Namibia and in Botswana, when wild camping, the animals will feel much freer, much safer to come closer to one's campsite, because they're not scared of humans, and the sound of a vehicle engine doesn't trigger this automatic fear response as it does with animals that live in areas where there's a lot of hunting.
One of the joys of self-driving in Africa are the distances. They're long, but they're fantastic, because unlike driving in many other countries around the world, you have huge distances, and huge distances where the landscape changes, and it's just so exciting. But it also means fatigue can set in. So a good idea is to pull over and have a picnic, take it easy. So schedule your time to allow yourself to have a nice lunch at the roadside. In terms of safety, really try and find a spot like this that'll allow you to get well off the road. It's a really bad idea to just pull just off the road and set up camp there, because we'll set up even for an afternoon tea there or lunch. It's just too close to the road. Try and find and generally speaking, it's safe. It's certainly absolutely safe in Botswana and Namibia and Zambia and Malawi. Less safe in South Africa. But not necessarily unsafe, but there are some unsafe areas, so be a bit smart. If you're away from out of town, then it's a lot safer if you're closer to town. So try and get away from the town, and then enjoy a lovely afternoon lunch in a spot like we've chosen here today. This is the waterhole at Namatoni, which is the camp, the far eastern side of Etosha National Park, and we'll be driving through Etosha tomorrow. We're a little bit rushed because we want to get to a place that I first visited in 2000. It's called the Chorub Schlucht. It's a mountainous area, and to get there we have to travel through this wonderland called Etosha. It's a national park, Namibia's largest national park. We're probably going to see some interesting animals on the way, and tonight we're at Namatoni. We've just taken a chalet because we want to get up at daybreak and enjoy Etosha. Right now at the waterhole at Namatoni, and there's not a lot happening, but anyway, this is Etosha. This morning we are driving through Etosha National Park, and unfortunately we can't spend a lot of time here because well, we have to make the Chorub Schlucht by nightfall. So we're going to take a reasonably leisurely drive, see if we can see any animals, and we will stop and photograph them on our way through, but it's only one night we're going to spend at Etosha. I was in Etosha 2 years ago and did quite a nice quite a nice day capturing animals. So today we're off to the Coco land, and the next stop will be Chorub.
The second book I ever wrote was called A Complete Guide to Four-Wheel Drive Trails in Southern Africa. And I came up here and I researched that book. I used to own a mapping company. It was called InfoMap. And the second map I ever published was Namibia. The third map was 4xOverland. And I came and did the Horupslucht trail. And I remember it in that era of my work with four-wheel drives. I probably enjoyed this trail. It just sticks out, even now, sticks out in my memory as one of the very, very best that I've ever done. I have a very fond memory of this place. Almost to the day, 6 years ago, my vehicle was parked on this bridge. The water is flowing exactly like it is flowing now.
But the Herneb is flowing quite strongly. It's such a wonderful thing to see, because only rarely do these rivers ever flow.
And it bodes very, very well for my trip to Angola, because I understand that the rivers are flowing strongly, and of course we're going to be following them upstream to find the source of the Okavango. Following that, I went into Angola and found the very source of the Okavango in Angola, deep in Angola. And that television series I still consider my best work. It's on YouTube if you're interested. And so I just have this flood of great memories of this particular spot. I stopped and I was on my own and I took a picture of some young lads who were... Hello. It's a fantastic place. Lucky to be here.
This time I'm in Namibia to investigate remote travelling with a rental 4x4 and all its gear. Paul Marsh, overland vehicle guru and global traveller, is my travelling companion.
This road track heading towards the Horupslucht, we're doing this particular road just because we want to do this particular road. There's no particular reason why. It's just magnificent. I was first here in 2000. I was driving a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, and I just remember it was just a remarkably beautiful ride. A day's drive towards the town of Horub. Horub is a very small settlement and is kind of the gateway to 4xOverland and the most remote parts of all of Namibia. And we will be camping tonight in a place called the Horupslucht. It's a valley, and well, I'm trying to remember what it was like 16 years ago, and it was a lot greener than this. This is very, very dry, very, very arid, but just as beautiful in its own way.
The Schlucht is also known for its dust. In some countries they call it bull dust. In Namibia they call it unbelievable dust.
Well, what do you think of that then? Hey? Doesn't it look fantastic? The dust bowls. It's actually marked on the map. Well, I marked them on the map because the map I'm using I drew. And I remember the horrific dust. About a kilometre of it. Just, doesn't she look great? I mean, you could market this stuff. You could bottle it and put it in a can and sell it, and just give people the safari look. Just, what do you think? Eh? Bad idea. No, it's not a very good idea. Anyway, there is the Schlucht. Through the mountains in the distance, driving now, you can see those cliffs there. Somewhere through, there is a track going through these mountains, and beyond these mountains is the Kwakkerveld, stretching all the way to Angola and the Konini River. We're stuck
Take the step out first.
We're stuck, and we think it might be because the step sticks quite far down and got stuck on the up as the back was down, so it's possible that that's caused us to get stuck, but removing that is not going to really help us at the moment because we're going to need to move some sand from the front of the vehicle, and you can see how soft it is. Well, clear some sand. It's very obvious that the step hooked. It was silly of me actually. I just went into the wrong gear, going down. Didn't give it enough thought before tackling the obstacle. I was too relaxed. The thing is that we're not caught on the axles. We haven't put the vehicle down onto the chassis.
This can happen so easily. We were driving along, little detour around some trees because it was a bit high, low down, with branches that were going to catch the roof tent, and we could see a track, but we just weren't thinking, so we didn't select the right gear, and of course coming around on this thick sand, heading back up, we got caught. We also didn't think that the rear step at the back was hanging down, which you could flip out, and that acted as a plough, so we got stuck. We tried to reverse back, which is one of the things you do, and right now the vehicle is not on the axles, which is important because if you try and get out of the sand too much and you spin the wheels, you go one ways down. The most important thing is to clear the sand in front of the wheels, in front of the back wheels, in front of the front wheels, on both sides of the vehicle before you even attempt to go and try again. Yeah, this is hard work, and we've been sitting in a vehicle for the last week, and often people's backs aren't used to a whole lot of digging. So I'm very much inclined that when you dig, get down low on your knees and dig like this. If you bend over while you're digging, it can actually put a lot of extra stress on your back. Some people are fine with it. For me, I'm not, so I prefer to dig like this and scoop the sand. Actually, I'm scraping it out the way. And I find it works quite well. So it's not just important, the sand on in front of the tyre is also going to stop it. The sand on the sides of each tyre create extra drag and resistance, like holding the tyre in place. So make sure you make a big effort when you're digging, because you get one chance to get out before you dig yourself deeper into trouble. So make the effort to do a proper clear out of the sand, and then hopefully that one time is all you need. As you can see, what I've done is I've made sure that the sand right under the wheel, that's out. It's important that the wheel, when it starts to turn, gets a chance to turn without having to go over a little mound of sand. Take rest when you do this. It's not a rush. We've got all day, and drink lots of water, because you get up a huge sweat and you lose a lot of water doing stuff like this. And this can actually jeopardize you and make quite a simple exercise into quite a dangerous one down the road. Getting your car unstuck is one thing. Getting it past where we got stuck is another. The best line is going to be to take the one that's been driven before. It doesn't always mean that works. You've got to judge the situation for what it is. But right now, for us to get out of the tracks we are on and over a different line is going to be a little bit difficult. So I'm going to just flatten this out as much as I can. Remove the hump over here, which we got caught on. Make sure we fill in this as best we can, so we give ourselves the best chance of getting over here. Really need more momentum. Let's see if I can get a bit further back.
Very nice piece of driving. It's what I tried to do, get further back. I didn't manage to get as far back as he did. Nice piece of driving.
So what I felt was important is I started going up and I just didn't have the momentum. I had one chance to try and reverse back a bit further, past where I got stuck, without digging myself in. So that's why I wound the window down, so I can actually see the tires. The moment I start churning the tires and they're spinning, I'm digging a hole. So back a bit further, coming up, momentum, but not speed. You want momentum, but again I say not speed. And as you saw, I came up and gently took my foot off the accelerator just to allow the wheels to not slip, but to get grip. And that's really some of the key things when getting out of soft stuff. You want it to grip, so you slowly take your foot off and you gently let the vehicle crawl up. It's not about aggression, it's not about the heavy foot and accelerator. That takes you one way down and you spend a lot of time digging. We got out quickly.
That was a nice exercise. I had my doubts when you first stopped. I thought, uh-oh, tires down, but
no,
it's good.
That was good. I had doubts, but
huh? The idea of driving the 4xOverland was really, it's just a great drive. And we came here to experience a great drive. Nothing really, for no other reason. It's what four-wheel drive lovers do. They'll go somewhere just to go there. And the journey is the destination. Not necessarily the destination, it's not necessarily the destination. If you understand what I mean. And this is one such place. I didn't come to stay in the 4xOverland. I came to drive the 4xOverland. It's been an insane morning of driving. Absolutely fantastic morning of driving. Actually a little nail biting at times. The sand is very, very, very soft. And here, a green oasis. Look at this, isn't this gorgeous? Right. This is perfect, right here. Perfect. Yay. Shower time. Not really deep enough to have a bath, but there's certainly fresh water and we can both stand here and have a shower. What a great idea that is.
You just come across the oasis, and actually it's quite important that you understand that this water is very valuable to the locals around. The last thing we want to do is get in here with our soap suds and contaminate the water. So I've got a basin, we'll collect some water, we can wash ourselves, we can rinse ourselves on the side, that's absolutely fine. You'd be concerned about bilharzia in certain rivers and waters. This is an underground stream, but the fact that it's running, if I had to collect water here to drink and purify and use, I would collect it and filter out the bits of algae floating if I had to. There's always a risk in taking water that's flowing. In some senses, you don't know what's higher up, animals and all that could contaminate the water. So treat it as unpurified water if you're going to take it.
Oh, it's escaping. The bowl is escaping. I've lost the bowl, sorry. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe this is a great place to camp. What do you think?
Well, if I was choosing a campsite, it's a riverbed, but the river's actually low down, so the chances of the water coming will be quite a bit higher up. It's nice sand, it's good shelter from the trees, and there's lots of firewood.
It's stunning.
So I'm always looking, when I'm looking for a campsite, you know, we haven't come across any local villagers, because if we had, we would stop and ask them whether we could get permission to stay. You'd never camp in the riverbed, actually in a riverbed. It is so dangerous.
No, it is too dangerous.
You know, rivers can come down in a flash flood and you just won't even know. But
particularly in summer. It's deadly in summer.
Yeah, summer's, you know, we're a lot less rain now. Little or nothing, should we say. It's very dry. But yeah, this would be a good choice.
Or you can hide. Actually try and escape from other people altogether. You'd be surprised. Even when you do that, there's a very good chance that somebody knows, somebody from the local village will know that you're there. The way to hide is to stay low. Not in the depth of a riverbed. It can be very dangerous, as we've already mentioned. But try and, you know, obviously not on a mound, not on a hill. And also the lights of your vehicle, keep them dull. Don't put them high up. Those obvious things. And don't make a lot of noise, like accidentally setting off your burglar alarm, which has happened to me once. Anyway, so that's really it. And The most important thing about wild camping is that you must know if it's safe to do so in the region in which you're traveling. Doing so blindly in any place can lead to some trouble. So that's it. Personally, I prefer wild camping, but if you're on a safari drive tour, as they have arranged it for you, it's unlikely that they will expect you to wild camp, but you might just get caught out and have to do it because of some eventuality or another. Keeping dust out of a canopy on a pickup is a big problem. Mainly because the tailgate and around the surrounds of the tailgate are such a problem to keep the dust out. It's almost impossible. But how about this for a solution? We've spent the entire day on very dusty roads. The last bit here through the riverbeds, unbelievable silt dust, the worst kind of dust, the kind of dust that gets absolutely everywhere. Out on this, I've done a lot of traveling in my life, and quite a bit of it in pickups. That is as dust-free as any station wagon as I've ever driven, and it's a pickup with a canopy, full-length door. Problem solved. And significant to this solution is the way the door latches. This is similar to what they use in a container. It latches bottom and top with a lever. Very secure, very tight, top and bottom. It's a bit agricultural to look at, but what a solution. Fantastic. I've had now 4 vehicles with rear bumper wheel carriers, and to be honest with you, I haven't been impressed with any of them for one reason or another. This is Gobi X's rear wheel carrier. Best I've yet seen. Why? Well, it's so easy to use. I love the idea of a gas strut. Very, very nice, because it keeps it open. I don't have to hold it open with another pin. It has a pin here on the actual door, which is a safety pin, and then to latch it, I don't have to use all my strength. I can just give it a little thump. I don't have, my other ones were really kind of heavy duty. My wife used to battle with them. This, fantastic. Really, really well done. It has other bits and pieces which I really like. LED light for the number plate, the towing plug, place for the high amperage connectors, and the Heyman-Reese connector for a tow bar, and in this particular case it's a little step, which is also their creation. Recovery points, jacking points, best I've yet seen. Well, I have some bad news. Do you remember early on in the series of videos I had trouble at Cape Town International Airport because I was trying to bring a drone into the country in a rather large box, and the box, well, it rang alarm bells with the customs people, and then they opened up and they found all my camera equipment in my other bag, and then I had to pay 4,000 rands worth of duty. Well, it was all because of this little monster down here, this little thing called a unique Typhoon H drone. The bad news is that it doesn't work. See that? GPS acquiring satellites. Cannot get satellite signal. It's giving me 2 red and 2 green flashes. I've been told that on a satellite phone, called the head offices at Unique, and I've been told if it flashes red, that's bad news. Did discover though that this is so shiny that it's almost impossible to see in daylight. It's brand new. Not a good product. So, I'm sorry, but there's no flying. This entire project of bringing a drone to Africa has been a complete and utter failure. Hey?
There aren't words to explain today's drive. I mean, how beautiful is the scenery we came in? It's just, this is like a hidden a hidden, remote area of Namibia that people don't see.
They don't see it. They don't know. It's on the map.
People don't know about it.
No, they don't. It's on the map, but it's not known.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we lose the track at a moment and you'll go, oh, there it is? Because nobody has come here.
No one's come through. And you know, that for me is just priceless. When you can get to an area like this, it's quiet. There's no one here. We've come through. How many times have we crossed the riverbeds? The trees.
Dozens. Yeah.
The mountains encroaching on us, and I'm just looking forward to what we're still going through tomorrow.
The Shucht itself, the valley.
Fantastic.
It just closes in, and then suddenly you're.
I'm really
amazing.
looking forward to that.
Amazing.
This is why I do this. This is why I love getting away into the bush and the remote areas. It's time for yourself. It's time when you can actually be at peace with nature and everything around you.
And you know what? To be honest with you, you know what? It hasn't spoilt it, but I don't like technology when it gets in the way. The drone doesn't work,
Look, the reality is, you know, in the real sense, we wouldn't have the drone, but it's here to capture the beauty of what we want other people to see who don't come here. That's why we have it.
I know. But it's not working, and it's frustrating me, and it needn't.
Tell you what, we could put it on the fire right now.
It would look fantastic for a very short. Can you hear them? That's what I've been waiting for. Barking geckos. They're onomatopoeic aha hills. They're ventriloquists. They throw their voices. So I think one's over there. But really he's over there. See? Did you hear him? He is actually over there. I'm not joking actually. The sound actually travels in the burrows. So to find them, to actually locate them, is almost impossible. But they're all around us. Just woken up. A little later than normal this morning. Sun is above the hills. Bet you wish you were here.
It's day 11 of my expedition through remote northern Namibia. I'm here with my good friend and overland guru, Paul Marsh. We are heading towards the fabled Van Sales Pass, a tortuous track infamous for braking vehicles and nerves. But it's a long drive. Today in particular has been mile after mile of winding gravel roads. And to top it all off, we have a flat tyre.
So what do you say?
Well, that's the reality of driving on these roads. It's a sharp stone that's gone in and...
Can you see the damage?
It's a tyre. Yeah, it's at the back here. It's a very sharp stone that's actually gone in. I can feel it's distorted the tyre. Well, you won't believe what's gone in the tyre, but let me show you. It's no rock. Our rocks do that damage, but actually it's something metal we're going to try and pull out. Alright, hopefully these can get it out.
Explain yourself, Mr. Marsh.
Everything's about safety, and this is obviously a dangerous, or can be a very dangerous operation with a heavy loaded vehicle. We're on a slight rise, and it could be a lot steeper if you were stuck. And I put the rocks there, so to test that my chocks are actually going to hold the wheel and stop it from rolling back, I've taken the handbrake down, it out of gear, released the foot brake to just make sure that it rolls onto the chocks and goes no further. Then I can put everything back in place.
Before you take that wheel off.
Absolutely.
Is the critical thing.
Yeah. Before I take the wheel off. It's a great spot to jack on. The ground's very, very hard. I haven't actually even put the base underneath because it's not needing to spread the load. And we've got the jack underneath there, and I'll be able to safely jack it up and then make our repair.
This is the first puncture I have suffered with a BF Goodrich tyre since 2009. So now I have to start the clock from here again. So Next time I talk about the last time I had a puncture, I have to count it from 1st of July 2016. But of course the fact that we were going slowly, we were probably doing about 40 kilometers an hour, maybe even less, because we were going through these dips. When it hit, we slowed down so quickly and stopped before we did any damage to the tower at all, so there's a good chance we can just plug it.
That is, of course, if we can get the piece of steel out.
Well, you're making headway.
Slowly. It is just being that devil. All right. Well, that was unlucky. That was very unlucky.
Shit, look at that thing.
That is. It's made a nice hole.
Okay, that's a result of bad luck, more than anything else.
Crikey. The next job is the moderately easy task of inserting a plug, a temporary repair that'll get us to our campsite. The sun is going down, so it's time to find a place to camp.
If you go through there, through this guy, straddle this guy, straddle this one, I'm going to walk ahead of you. It's a bit of a squeeze. I wonder if these are puncture type thorns. I can see a spot right there. Perfect little spot. Away from the road. If you reverse in here, if you go up there and reverse in here, and you can park right here. Okay? Nice little spot. I suggest choose. This narrow winding track, 6 hours, quite grueling, towards Van Zyls Pass. And we're heading now to the equivalent of Everest Base Camp. This is the base camp that serves Van Zyls Pass. And Van Zyls Pass is without doubt the most famous pass in all of Namibia, if not all of Southern Africa. And we'll be going down it tomorrow morning.
Van Zyls Pass is the only link from the vast plateau of central northern Namibia to the coastal gravel plains. The pass is less than 20 kilometers long, but it takes 6 to 8 hours to drive. So it's essential that we get a good night's rest before tomorrow's challenge.
Well, here we are. The campsite at Van Zyls. And look, there are people over there. Nice sights. Nice, eh? A lovely campsite this is. No tap or anything, but we've got our own water supply, so we can have a good old wash.
But as tough as Van Zyls is,
the one on the river,
it does draw a crowd, if you can call it a crowd.
Can't complain. How are you doing? How's it?
Van Zyls campsite, community-based campsites. All of the funds go to supporting local communities. They supply firewood, but they do charge for it. Beautiful location, right on the riverbed. Couldn't wish for more. We've got water, which is great. No showers or ablution blocks, but we can at least use the water and have a good old clean, because after a very hot day, particularly changing the wheel, sorting out the flat tire today, definitely in need of a bit of a wash. You're going to swing it around a bit and... Yeah. Okay. The only thing is though that it does feel strange having people around. I mean, I can hear them knocking and talking, and all of the other camps have been utterly silent. And I think because of that, their noise has been amplified, because we're not used to it. We're used to silence. And what a lovely surprise that is. Donkey boiler for hot water, and a place to have a shower. That is such a pleasant surprise. And not only a place to have a shower, but if I'm not mistaken, well, you know. And what a nice surprise to see is Paul is putting my tent up for me.
Oh, you are so lucky. You're cooking supper.
Oh, yes. Fair trade, I say, fair trade. He says, I'm cooking supper. He doesn't know what I'm cooking yet. For the next few days, Paul and I will be traversing one of the most remote parts of all of southern Africa. It's unlikely that we will encounter anyone who could offer assistance should anything go wrong. So it's the perfect time to check our vehicle and equipment.
Right, this morning we are going to empty these 2 cans we've been carrying for the last few days. Actually since yesterday, hey?
Yeah, at Puros.
We filled up 2 extra cans just to give us extra range. We haven't got an extra tank on this car, it's the standard 130 litre. I'm using a simple super siphon. It's got a little one-way valve, means I don't have to suck any diesel through a pipe.
However, there is a little proviso. When you get the guys to fill this up, or if you fill it up yourself, if you're going to use a super siphon, you stop about here. If you put it to the top, this then splashes as you get it going. So just be aware of that.
There it goes. So it's easy. It doesn't take us more than a few minutes. No one's stressing. I'm not having to make sure it goes down far enough, otherwise you get air bubbles. And it'll just keep sucking until it's finished.
We've been just thinking, where does this water come from? Is it drinkable out of the tap? And you can never tell. In a place like this, far away from settlements, well, how far away? That's the big question. If it's very close to a settlement, there's a fair chance the water might be contaminated. If it's very far from settlements, then less chance. If you ask the locals, they might say, oh, it's fine to drink. We drink it all the time. But remember that their stomachs would have acclimatized to water very different from what we are used to living in developed countries and in towns and cities. So be careful with water from whatever source, no matter what the locals say. And we carry lots of this. It would be much nicer to drink the local water, but always ask the people that would understand that predicament if the water is drinkable before you drink it. People of Korkoland are the Himba. They're very primitive people. They mostly do not wear Western clothes, and unfortunately they're used to tourists giving them sweets, so that the children will come and ask for. They'll shout sweets, and they'll shout chocolate, which is a little unfortunate because. I think that I tourists give them sweets because they're ignorant. They don't have brushing facilities, so their teeth rot because of the sugar. They don't eat sugar. Sugar is not part of their natural diet, so it's not good for them. Fruit, yeah. I often travel with fruit and give fruit to people, which is I think what we're going to do now.
Okay, this is very good for you, but you must share. You share. Okay.
It is possible, even quite likely, that these children have never seen a banana before.
without doubt, man, absolutely beautiful pass, just exquisite, unique in southern Africa, magnificent.
I've suggested to Paul that he drive the really rough bits, mainly because the vehicle is his responsibility, and if it were mine, I would be more comfortable if the owner was in control.
Choices, 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 choices. Oh. Straight. Okay, come dead straight. Straight as you are. Dead straight. Absolutely straight. Turn hard. Yeah. Vanseilles Pass is notorious for robbing people of their kit because they breaks, and if it's big enough they have to leave it behind, and there is one such example right there, somebody's trailer that didn't make it. Well, little did I know that halfway along Vanseilles there is now a campsite, and there's a sign there saying Kantoor campsite. Kantoor means office, campsite, and that wooden structure down there is the office. Anyway, there are no facilities, it's a place you can camp. Don't see a place for fire, don't know if it's a used campsite, but this would be an amazing place to camp, and that is the trail along which we've come. One of the drawbacks of such a beautiful place is, of course, everybody knows about it. The maps are good, modern vehicles are good, so you can get here reliably. And we've counted so far 4 vehicles that have passed us, and we've been here for about 3 hours. So it's really difficult, becoming more and more difficult to get away, completely away from people. And as wonderful as this place is, maybe I'm socially inept, but I much prefer being on my own. But to enjoy a place like this, one has to accept that other people want to enjoy it too. Those of you who are well-travelled will know the Sydney Opera House, London Bridge, the rocks of Sydney, Copacabana Beach, the Sugarloaf Mountain. Where else? Every place has its signature tourist spot that everybody recognises when they see the picture. They know exactly where it is without being told. This is that place in the Kwarkerveld. However, the most challenging part of Vanseilles is its second half.
The toughest bit so far.
Yeah, which line do you want me to...
Well, I think the biggest difficulty is falling into that hole there. So it comes down slowly down here.
Yeah.
Okay, sits back here. Coming down here, as
right.
you can see. To get across the actual here, and then the car tends to want to tip because you're too high there, too low here. If you can come down here,
So you're going to come around there,
down there,
to the left, that, so your right.
come here, and try and straighten up here as much as possible, because if you can straighten up here.
Okay, fine. This is the danger here, because this is so high. You're going to fall. You're going to fall. Named after a Dutch explorer who apparently drove the route with Himba tribesmen and a Model T Ford in 1920. At least that's what I can find out about it. Right, now to help him, direct him down here. What I do know is that it drops close to 2,000 feet and is listed on the dangerousroads.org website as one of the world's most spectacular and dangerous roads. This is not something that can be hurried. And if I'm to direct Paul effectively, I think that I'm going to have to forego filming it as well. Yeah. It's too difficult for me to get up here. I can't, I'm not going to film it. It's too difficult and too dangerous. Good. Nice one. Nearly 7 hours from the pass's top, we receive our reward for our efforts, the endless plains of the Maurian Fluss. There are few landmarks in these open plans, but this is one of them, and it's been documented on several maps by several different publishers as the burnt out Land Rover. And here it is here. Looks like a series, what would you say, a series 3 Land Rover, and it's been here for decades.
Good bulkhead if you straighten it up.
And the amazing thing is that a really keen Land Rover enthusiast, get it running again. This Land Rover succumbed because of fire. Now you can see the grass is actually very, very high. Now because quite a few travellers cross the Maurian Fluss, the grass in the middle of the track is actually quite low, and it's not really a danger to us at all. You can see there it is far lower than the grass around it. But now if that grass was tall and was hitting our radiator, firstly the grass seeds would get into the radiator and cause overheating, and worse, the grass could actually catch around the exhaust pipe and the car catch alight. And that is exactly what happened with this particular vehicle. It was burnt. It was burnt by grass catching fire around the exhaust pipe. What an amazing experience to sit out here and wait for the sun to set. We're about 30 minutes from the Koneni River now, which is northerly. So there's no camping permitted in the Marienfluss Conservancy, and I can understand why. Imagine people just going off and making tracks to the trees. It would just spoil it. So we're going to camp there and come back at first light and have this experience all over again. Kind of hanging on as long as possible, just enjoying the absolute solitude of the place. And the stars are we've made ourselves a quick bite to eat, because if we arrive at late after dark at the camp, it doesn't really matter. We just didn't want to miss a second of this. The stars are starting to pop in the sky. I just didn't want to miss a second. Okay, what we've decided to do, change of plan, we headed a little bit north and then a little bit west, out of the Marienfluss and into the Hartmann Valley, just on the edge of it, because in the Hartmann Valley you're allowed to wild camp. But we've decided absolutely no impact camping. In fact, we're not even going to pitch our tents. We've got a bedroll right behind the vehicle on the track, and we're going to sleep under this magnificent Milky Way galaxy. Oh, what an amazing night. What a privilege to sleep under the stars. It's a little before 6. Sun is heading towards the horizon as the crescent moon is sinking. Fell asleep counting stars. I think I reached about 12, so I didn't do very well. There were quite a few more to count. Wind came up in the middle of the night, a little chilly.
I'm on my 14th day of an expedition to the most remote parts of all of southern Africa in Hartmann Valley, northern Namibia. We're waking from our ultra-low impact camp. My travelling companion Paul Marsh is making coffee. As part of our low impact camp, we even put our bedrolls on the track itself. And I was lying in bed last night thinking to myself, we should have put our warning triangles up on the track up there, actually, even though, following the track last night, nobody had come down this road in a long time. The track is barely visible. I mean, you can see it in places, but in places it vanishes almost completely. So very few vehicles come down here, but I was thinking we probably should have done that. No tents, no fire, and all our impact is on the track itself. I think I'm getting coffee. Bacon and eggs. I know what I'd like, some of those little chipolata sausages. Could you do that?
Chipolatas? Next time. You've obviously woken up from a dream.
I am in a dream.
You're in a dream.
I am in a dream.
The reality is that coffee's about it.
Not a bad dream. Not a bad one. I dreamt about Gwyn last night.
Yeah, what did you dream?
She was being very nice to me. No, don't read anything into it. Come on, this is not Freudian. Don't read anything into it. She was just being nice to me.
You've been alone for a week too long.
No, she wasn't being that nice to me. Fantastic. Oh, you're taking it around that way, are you? No idea.
The rusks are here.
Yeah, very funny.
Your coffee's about here somewhere. Did you see what?
Paul, do you want a rusk?
No, thanks.
That's a pity, I was going to put them over there. Many of you may be thinking, how can you lie? So exposed to wild animals. Well,
it's actually a cattle area. Donkeys, saw a lot of donkeys, cows, so it is inhabited. That doesn't mean to say that there will not be any wild animals around, but where there are cattle settlements, there are no lions. Where there are no lions, there probably are no hyena. There will be leopard here. Leopard are very, very skittish, very tame, very elusive. Don't readily come to people. Our biggest danger here would probably be leopard. But attacks from leopard in situations like this are virtually they're virtually just not heard of. So the biggest danger would be hyena. Hyena are a danger to campers sleeping like this. Not if they're actually around a campfire or something. Hyena can be quite bold, but they're not that bold. But they have been known to attack people while sleeping in sleeping bags. In fact, they are probably the most dangerous of the carnivores. In a situation like this, hippos would be a big danger. I would never sleep like this next to open water. Never. But a place like this, really, the closest an animal is likely to get, jackal will come very, very close. They're not harmful or dangerous at all. We'll just lie here and watch them, but there were none, and I have heard no jackal, which surprises me a bit. I expected there to be jackal here, but really quite safe, and certainly safe from the locals. Locals wouldn't worry about us one little bit.
It doesn't get better than this. Lying under the southern sky, the sky in which there is the only constellation with celebrity status.
The Southern Cross is a constellation used by explorers for centuries to navigate, because it is such a reliable and easy to identify way of finding true south. Now if you look at the constellation, the crucifix is easy to spot because it has two pointer stars, and they always point to the top of the crucifix. And no matter its orientation, depending on the time of year, it'll be higher in the sky or lower in the sky, and will rotate. No matter, the two pointers always point to the top of the crucifix. Now if you take an imaginary line down the crucifix, doesn't matter if even if it's up, doesn't matter which way it goes. Take an imaginary line along the crucifix downwards, and another imaginary line perpendicular to the two pointer stars, if you can imagine that. Where those two lines meet over the horizon is directly over due south. I learned that in a book. Wow, just extraordinary. We've taken a road off. Now the road goes north right up to the Kanini River. Again, we've done the same as we did last night. We've taken a road off to the west. This is now heading towards the Skeleton Coast National Park, and this road we're on is not on any of the maps. It's not on the Tracks for Africa database. Nothing. Look at this place. So we have no idea where we're going to end up tonight. It's going to be sublime.
It's too good a camping spot to pass up.
Just astonishing place. What a find.
The closest people to us will be the folk at the Bush Lodge on the Kanini River, probably 3 hours away. I think this is a great place to just stay put for a couple of days. I also think that we should make ourselves as comfortable as possible.
Nice fire, Mr. Marsh.
Yeah. We've got the charcoal, plus the wood, plus starting off with a bit of the grass, which is great kindling. Thin twigs lying from the bush over there, thicker twigs, heavy wood.
And thickest twigs.
Thickest twigs. Nice wood we picked up.
Yes.
And a bit of charcoal for our steak later.
Excellent. I've set up my tripod here for a little test. I'm going to review this. It's a Tiny Monster 1.6 GT, and it's very bright, as you can see, incredibly bright. Torch. Nightcore has made a superb instrument here. It is absolutely, it's beautiful to use. It's even more beautiful to hold, that I'm going to give it a name. And I'm going to call it, watch this, I'm going to call it the Sun. What do you think of that, eh? Bright. We saw one car, you're right, one car the whole day. The desert is so like the sea. Its colours change constantly. Sounds like the start of a poem, doesn't it? My father used to write poetry. I don't. I'm not about to start. But it is true of the desert. And the colours are utterly different to what they were last night after the sun set. Now they have a gentle, the desert seems benign, harmless and tranquil and terribly peaceful and safe and warm and inviting and comfortable. During the day when the sun is up, it's demanding and stark and untouchable because it is because of its harshness. And I think I love the desert so much because of exactly the same reason as people love the sea. People can live by the sea and desire to live by the sea all their lives because every day the sea is a different colour and the sky above it is a different colour. It's the same for the desert. I have the best job in the world. I'm walking now in a place in Namibia. It's very, very remote. Very, very, very. We have not seen another vehicle in 3 days. And we're now heading to the Heartland Mountains. And over there are the dunes of the Skeleton Coast. And these dunes actually come all the way from the grey Atlantic Skeleton Coast. And this is as far as they reach inland. And what a place. Oh, I love deserts. Nothing excites me more than a morning filming in the desert. And here comes my ride. It's a Toyota Land Cruiser 79 Series dual cab with a 1HZ 4.2 normally aspirated diesel engine. Canopy is by Alu Cab and roof rack by Easy Orn. Everything else is pretty much standard. And this is a Namib sand dune. And in this place here, they've been swept inland. And this is their barrier. This is as far as they go. From here, they head south, and in fact, further south, much further south still, they
they spread hundreds of miles inland. At the moment we are probably less than 50 miles, 80 kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean. All over the Namib, there are millions of them. Circular areas where very few or no plants grow at all. The most convincing theory as to why they exist actually is my own. What happens at night is that fairies come out, they're very, very small, and they have pangas, and they come and they cut the grass, and then when anybody comes they hide in the grass. It's my theory. It might be daft, but it's mine. The fact is that nobody knows. There have been no conclusive statements that this is how the fairy circles are formed. Nobody knows. Isn't that wonderful? Nobody knows. I still think that my theory is the best. Yeah, it's a bit of a long shot. I set out on this expedition to seek out some of the loneliest places in Botswana and Namibia. Boy, have I succeeded. We hadn't planned on this particular road. I think that maybe 1 car a month drives up here, maybe less. It's amazing.
St Pierre White, I presume. Nice to
Yes.
meet you. Fancy bumping into you here.
Yes, Mr. Marshall. Well, I think we succeeded.
Yeah, this is incredible. Eh? Not many people visit a place like this with such beauty. Pity about all the tracks.
A few tracks around the dunes.
Yeah.
Idiots. Yeah. Morons, you. Drive. You don't
spoil
need
it.
to.
No,
Why
no.
do you need to drive
Up
off
to
the
one
track? Why?
But hell, it's beautiful. The starkness of how the dunes meet this valley is just breathtaking.
In this barren landscape, there are few recognizable landmarks, so intersections have been marked with different colored drums. There are 4 in all: red drum, blue drum, orange drum, and green drum. Red drum is the most famous.
Best known landmarks of the Kwokaland is a place called Roydrom. And when I first heard about it, I thought, well, you've got to go to Roydrom. Roydrom is the place to go in the Kwokaland. And I arrived to find a red drum. Roydrom is Afrikaans for red drum, and this is the place that I was told that I had to visit. And it is a confluence of 4 roads and a red drum. It's significant though, because red drum has been marked. You'll see there the name of Jan Joubert written on the drum. Jan was one of the pioneers. He was a modern explorer and was certainly one of the pioneers of the Kwokaland. It was his passion for off-roading. It was his passion for Namibia. And it was his passion for sharing his experiences, the experiences that we've shared now, this world. He wanted to share it with other people. He was the first one to do really good maps of the Kwoka-veld. The first one, as far as I know, to include GPS coordinates in his mapping. Passionate conservationist. Passionate for the views of the 4-wheel driver, really emphasizing the fact that you don't just drive anywhere off, you stay on the tracks, you look after the environment, be responsible. And he protected the interests of us 4-wheel driver. So in a way he was a mentor of mine. When I was writing my early books, I met Jan, and he was an inspiration. He was an inspiration to me. He was an inspiration to many, many people. Several years ago, he was traveling in Namibia, and he was camping by himself, wild camping, and he was murdered. And it came as a terrible shock to all of us that we heard about it. It was just, how could this happen? Because Namibia is actually a very, very safe country to travel in. Very safe. And it was just, I don't know, his luck ran out. I don't know. It was a terrible story. They shot him, stole his vehicle, and then those two young men are in jail for the rest of their lives. Tragic story. But his legacy is this magnificent, magnificent place. And I remember Jan with great fondness as a man who pushed the boundaries of four-wheel drive exploration. So Jan, thank you. And it's marked on the map, Jan Joubert Memorial, Roerdam. And this is it. I set out on this expedition to seek out some of the loneliest places in Botswana and Namibia. Boy, have I succeeded. We hadn't planned on this particular road. I think that maybe one car a month drives up here, maybe less.
I've been travelling remote Namibia for the past 16 days with fellow overland enthusiast and close friend Paul Marsh. We are on the final few days of our expedition.
St Pierre White, I presume. Nice to
Yes.
meet you. Fancy bumping into you here.
Yes, Mr. Marsh. Likewise, Blue Drum. Blue Drum.
Hello? Hello? You want to speak to who? Oh. Andrew! Call for you. Long distance call.
Long distance. Hello? Hello? Mother! Hello? 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 Cut off. Mother. Dear mother. She was like one of the family. We're now going to Orange Drum. I wonder what that'll look like. But here's the thing. I was here in 2000, and I've got a photograph of my Mercedes sitting there, and if you look at the background, hardly a plant anywhere. Good rains for a couple of years, look what it does. Turns it into, just magic. And now we're at, what's this one called now? What kind of thing does it say?
Just how many people, who's been through, just a little message of basically the folk who've been through. Let's see the last one. Well, we'll have to write in it.
We've been searching for Namibia's loneliest places, and also for something extraordinary and a relative newcomer to the northern Namibia landscape.
This is an example of one of the modern mysteries of Namibia. I didn't mention it earlier in the trip because I didn't know if I was going to find one. He is one of the lone men of Namibia. There are 27 such sculptures in northern Namibia. Only 9 have been documented, and the reason why we know that there are 27 is because there are 27 plaques, each one numbered. Let's go and have a look.
The fact that we have found one is remarkable in itself.
The plaque says resting on way to 15. Nobody knows who is creating them. Nobody knows who's responsible for this. Obviously, it is an artist, there's no question, and a sensitive artist at that. And whoever created these works of art no doubt understands the landscape and the loneliness of northern Namibia. I think that is exquisite. So glad that we found it. Thank you so much for watching. These videos are made possible by contributions from Patreons. Join our Patreon family now.